Harry and Meghan coming home. Megxit's become Meg back.
Yeah, they've changed their mind. They've changed their mind, Richard, because they realise they're not making the money. They're hated in Hollywood. They're not even invited to the Oscars or the Emmys. So King Charles has to wake up, okay? Because the idea that Harry and Meghan are coming back here just to be private citizens is delusional.
The Sussexes have enrolled their children into a British school.
He's forcing her hand. I'm going back with the children.
I agree.
This is why it was so sudden.
And we say bye-bye. And it's the headline of them. Everyone in Montecito is so happy to see them go.
Meghan Markle is going back to live in Britain. To live. Yes, the same Britain she and Prince Harry walked away from 6 years ago while promising a brand new life in America. And this is not another quick airport appearance, not another carefully timed charity visit, and not another 48-hour royal fly-in.
2,416 days since I broke this front page, revealing Prince Harry and Meghan Markle were to Megxit, the most unhappy royal homecoming in history. Yes, they are on their way back, folks. The dastardly duo, the fake Duke and Duchess, have tonight confirmed a return to the United Kingdom. They informed King Charles on Sunday.
Before we get into today's story, I wanted to let you know that I finally launched my Patreon. Many of you have been asking for more royal family content, so that's exactly what I'll be posting there. Exclusive investigations, bonus videos, breaking royal news, and members-only discussions that won't be available on YouTube. If you're interested, you'll find the link in the description. Now, let's get into today's story. The entire family is preparing to relocate to the United Kingdom for an extended period. Archie and Lily are expected to begin school there in September.
Duke intends to come home with his family this month and has enrolled children in school for September.
And Harry has suddenly made the biggest U-turn of his post-royal life. So what happened? Because this move did not arrive slowly, it landed like a brick through a window. For years, Harry talked about Britain as a place where he did not feel safe bringing his family. He fought over security.
He said he could not imagine a world where he would be able to bring Meghan and the children back to the UK because of security concerns. And then it was only a couple of months ago, you remember, that he released a commissioned report, which he'd commissioned by for himself, saying that there was some sort of threat against him in the United Kingdom, yet he still travelled to the UK in July, and now he's bringing the whole family. Nothing ever makes sense.
He repeatedly made it clear that returning with Meghan, Archie, and Liliquas, not something he could simply do under the existing arrangements. Now, suddenly, they are packing for Britain, looking at a private residence and preparing for a normal school term.
They suggested that senior royals were racist by asking questions about the colour of their unborn son's skin. The Duchess of Sussex had struggled with her mental health after joining the royal family. Well, I'm going to translate that piece of bullshit too. She made up. She spun a story. And by the way, what the Daily Telegraph seems to be forgetting is that Meghan and Harry also accused all of us, Brits who voted for Brexit like me, as being racist scumbags.
That is not a little change of schedule. That is a total reversal. And the timing is absolutely wild. The plan, as it stands, is for Harry, Meghan, and the little ones to return before the end of August. They are not coming back as working royals. No palace apartment has been announced.
You remember? She said to him, "I am never coming back." Isn't it funny what a few failures will do?
No return to official duties has been confirmed. They are expected to live privately, outside the royal estate system, while continuing their own business and charity projects.
But anyone who thinks that Harry and Meghan are doing this because they love the United Kingdom, or because they love their family, and they want to spend time with King Charles, needs a real wake-up call. And unfortunately, I will also say that this news tonight is very, very bad for the British royal family.
On paper, that sounds neat and controlled. In reality, it opens about 10 new cans of worms at once. First, Archie and Lily. School is the detail that changes everything. You do not casually enroll them in another country because dad has a few meetings. A school term creates routine. It creates a base. It creates a calendar. It turns a visit into a life.
Everyone saw Meghan walking all over him, Harry. I think this was Harry making a very abrupt decision to go back. Just yesterday, reports are talking about how he's going to go back more often to the UK. He was already planning to go to the UK and then come back, and I think something has happened because they are not aligned in purpose. Don't think it's Harry and Meghan making this joint decision.
And that is why the conversation has moved almost instantly from Harry misses Britain to a much more uncomfortable question. Was this really a joint decision? Because one of the strongest theories now being pushed is that Harry wanted this move far more than Meghan did. The idea is simple. Harry has spent years drifting back toward Britain inch by inch.
This is Harry alone making this decision, and now Meghan is going to have to follow, because I think there is a problem with this as a couple. They are not in union.
100%. 100%.
More visits, more contact with his father, more talk about reconciliation, more appearances tied to British causes. More signs that, whatever he once said, California never completely replaced home. Meghan, meanwhile, built almost her entire post-royal identity around America.
Big part of this is Harry preparing for his post-divorce world.
That's right.
Where he has the
That's
children in the United Kingdom. Because guess what?
has the children.
He's stupid. But when he reads in Vanity Fair, confirmation of a report that I first made, Pete Diner, that his wife is shopping around a post-divorce autobiography.
That's right.
The Montecito Mansion, the Hollywood Network, the Netflix era, the lifestyle pivot, the business launches, the red carpets, the podcasts, the celebrity dinners, the glossy California image. That was supposed to be the new kingdom. And now the family is going back to the old one. That is where this stops being a relocation story and starts looking like a power struggle.
Surely that's when
right.
you wake up and you say, I can't stay here. I can't stay here. She is setting me up.
So he's forcing her. He's forcing her hand. I'm going back with the children.
I agree.
This is why it was so sudden. This is exactly why it's so sudden. What's Meghan going to do if Harry says, I'm going back with the kids? What is she going to do? He has every legal right to go back with these children. Meghan doesn't want to go, but now her cards have been played. She doesn't have a chance now, because now this is going to be on UK soil.
Some commentators are openly suggesting Harry made an abrupt decision, and Meghan is now being forced to adapt to it. Not legally forced, not dragged onto a plane, but boxed in by the scale of the decision. If Harry says Britain is where he wants the family based, and the little ones are enrolled in school there, Meghan has a choice to make very quickly. Follow the move, split her time, or create an obvious public separation in how they live.
On the internet and on social media, we've seen a resurgence of like Chelsea Davy, who was Prince Harry's ex-girlfriend. We've seen some of his exes back on social media and how happy they are.
The love of his life, Link.
The
love of his life, the one that got away.
The love of his life. And I just have felt for a while, Harry misses the UK. I've said it on my podcast and on my content. There's something about Harry where I feel like he misses the UK, and I think seeing his ex on social media being happy, and he's got to go, he's got to lay the foundation.
None of those options look particularly comfortable. And then came the nuclear theory. Is Harry preparing for a future without Meghan? That is speculation, not an established fact. But the theory is now out there, and it has exploded because of one thing: Archie and Lily being established in Britain. If this were just about seeing King Charles more often, Harry could visit. If it were just about Invictus, he could travel. If it were just about charity work, he could fly in and out. But moving the little one's school life across the Atlantic is a completely different level of commitment.
When she or Harry decides to leave, now he's got the upper hand with his family and the children already in school being established.
I guess maybe this is one thing that we should celebrate. Harry has forced Meghan Markle's hands, and he is escaping. He is escaping.
So people are asking whether Harry is building a British base that survives no matter what happens to the marriage. That question gets even louder because rumors of tension have been hanging around the couple for months. Separate projects, different public appearances, stories about money, stories about the Montecito house. Stories that the two of them are no longer chasing exactly the same future. None of that proves a split. But when a couple with years of breakup rumors suddenly moves its offspring to one partner's home country, people are obviously going to connect the dots.
The marriage is on its last legs, and the money is running out fast. Harry and Meghan were considering putting the Montecito mansion on the market, and they wanted an off-market sale. Hence one of the reasons why they have recently been showing off the redesigned kitchen.
And Harry's home country is not just any country. It contains his family, his history, his charities, his title, his old network, and the one institution that made him globally famous in the first place. Which brings us to the money. Because this return also blows a massive hole through the original Megxit fantasy. Remember the pitch: freedom, financial independence, a new life outside palace restrictions, a global brand built on their own terms.
American grift is over, it seems.
The British public do not want these chancers and grifters and no good people who actually have been on a campaign to destroy the British royal family back on British soil. This is a nightmare they must not win.
Harry and Meghan would leave the royal machine, move to America, sign giant deals, control the message, and prove they were bigger than the institution they walked away from. For a while, the checks were enormous. Netflix, Spotify, the memoir, speaking deals, production projects, interviews, the kind of contracts that made it look like Montecito was the start of an empire. But the empire never became what the hype promised.
As ever, despite her insistence that it's a smashing success, I think has been an abysmal failure. They failed out of Hollywood. We just have to look at Cookie Queens to see that. And so they're going back. They're going back in their fallback career and slinking back to the UK. And I believe it, and yet you don't believe it at the same time. And this is just going to be an absolute mess.
Spotify ended. Their original mega deal era with Netflix changed into a much narrower first-look arrangement. Meghan's lifestyle brand launched with Netflix support, then separated from Netflix this year and went independent. Her cooking show produced attention, but later installments did not recreate the giant cultural moment that had once been predicted. Harry's biggest commercial hit remained the thing connected most directly to the royal family.
This is about Prince Harry forcing Meghan Markle to do something she vowed she would never do. She vowed she would never return home. She vowed she would never return home. And here she is coming back to the United Kingdom.
His story about being Prince Harry. That is the brutal irony. They left because they did not want to live inside the royal system, then discovered that the royal connection was still the product people wanted most. Every time Harry talked about the palace, the audience arrived. Every time Meghan talked about royal life, the headlines exploded. When the subject became jam, flower sprinkles, lifestyle products, and another polished California reinvention, the reaction was far less reliable.
I think they're even broker than we originally thought or imagined. The fact that they're crawling back this fast, I think that last little trip where they snuck in with the kids, that was them laying the foundation. They were laying the groundwork. And I know we've all felt for months now, and really the last year or two, I think Meghan Markle, she dies inside when she sees how great Princess Catherine is doing.
So yes, America can finally exhale. The royal reality show may be packing its bags. Montecito spent 6 years hosting the world's most expensive "we're totally done with Britain" experiment, and now Britain is getting the return shipment. That does not mean they are broke. There is no verified public evidence that Harry and Meghan are suddenly penniless, and reports say they intend to keep their California property for now.
Trust me, the Montecito home will go on the market. They cannot afford it, okay? Again, we've just got to deal in facts here. They cannot afford it, and they especially cannot afford it if they're not living in it.
But the financial story is no longer the unstoppable success story people were sold in 2020. And that matters because the royal dirty laundry phase had an expiration date. There are only so many times you can reveal the same family feud. The Oprah interview was huge because it was new. The Netflix documentary was huge because viewers were being promised the inside story. Spare sold because Harry was finally putting names, scenes, and accusations into a book.
But I just think it's interesting that they're going crawling back now, but no one's going to trust them because they've done tell-all books, reality shows, docu-series, Oprah interviews, everything time and time again. And I just think past behavior is the best indicator of future behavior.
But once the private family war has been turned into interviews, episodes, podcasts, and hundreds of pages, what is left to sell? A second first confession does not exist. A second Megxit does not shock anyone. A second, here is what really happened inside the palace, lands softer when the audience already heard version 1, version 2, and version 3. That business model naturally loses power.
Let's be honest, they are moving not because they're successes, but because they are failures. They have failed on multiple levels, and they don't know where else to go or what to do.
And now, instead of selling stories from thousands of miles away, Harry and Meghan are moving closer to the institution again. Coincidence? Maybe. Convenient? Absolutely. Because being royal adjacent is easier when you are actually adjacent to royalty. Britain gives Harry instant relevance. A charity appearance matters more. A family meeting becomes a headline. A church service becomes a global photo.
But no Americans are choosing to relocate to the UK at the moment. Like, this country is in deep, deep, dark trouble. Meghan must face the significant risk of being booed when out in public.
A private visit can create 3 days of speculation without Harry saying a single word. California could give them celebrity. Britain gives them royalty. And royalty has always had the stronger shelf life. Then there is the security contradiction, and this one is impossible to ignore. Harry spent years telling the public that the security situation made family visits to Britain incredibly difficult.
This is horrible for the British taxpayers, for sure, because we just don't know what any of this entails at this point. Of course, Harry and Meghan have sprung this on people, and this is how they operate. They kind of move in surprise so that way they can kind of try to force things in rather than letting things happen naturally. But I think this sudden move back to the UK just proves that all of Harry's whining about security was really a lie at the end of the day.
He pursued legal challenges. He said he could not imagine bringing Meghan, Archie, and Lily back under the conditions he faced. Now the family is preparing to live there. So what changed? Did the threat assessment change? Did private arrangements improve? Did Harry simply decide the risk was acceptable? Did the desire to come home become stronger than the objections that once kept him away? We do not know yet. But the contradiction is sitting right in the middle of the story wearing a neon jacket.
And I think Harry genuinely misses being a big fish in a big pond in the UK, and he hasn't had that in the US. I think he likes to go out and, he did say, I would never bring my kids back to the UK or it's not safe for them, but then he was out ringing doorbells in the middle of the day. Remember, he was caught on camera, like Nancy Guthrie's on the Ring camera. So I think Prince Harry is full of crap. He seems to be able to love, walking around London.
You cannot spend years saying, I cannot safely bring my family back, then announce a British school term and expect nobody to ask a question. And Meghan has an even bigger image problem. Her entire departure was wrapped around the idea that royal life had become unbearable. She described intense personal pressure. The couple repeatedly criticized the institution.
He wants his father back in the fold, and it is because they need money, and they're going to be pushing those kids' titles. Meghan has still continued using her HRH Duchess of Sussex title to sell her jams and her jellies and her spreads and her flour sprinkles. So this is just going to take it to another level.
They described Britain as a place tied to some of the darkest period of their lives. Now Meghan is going back to live there. Not for a funeral, not for a wedding, not for a weekend, to live. That is why Megxit reversed is suddenly everywhere. Technically, Megxit is not reversed because they are not returning to working royal duties. The original agreement still stands. They remain private individuals.
But let's just park that, because we've got a monarchy to save. And are we all prepared to call out the king here? How do you all feel about it? Because I know there's a debate about this. Some commentators don't want to, but I am prepared to sit here and say, King Charles, you have allowed a situation where Harry and Meghan are returning to the UK and putting the future of the monarchy at threat. You have failed. That's a failure.
But emotionally, symbolically, this is the closest thing to a reversal we have ever seen. They wanted out. Now, they want back in the country. They wanted distance. Now they are moving closer. They wanted independence from the royal orbit. Now the little ones will be growing up on the same island as the monarchy they spent years discussing from California. And the king apparently learned about the move only days before the story broke.
It was not discussed when the Sussexes visited him at Highgrove in July, it is understood. Which seems to me like yet another betrayal. And we know what they're like when they're planning big moves.
That detail is insane. Harry and Meghan had already been back in Britain recently. They had already seen Charles. The relationship had already started thawing. Yet this enormous plan, a house, a move, school arrangements, a new family base was apparently not presented during that earlier meeting. Then, suddenly, the king is informed.
They have been planning. They have been plotting. They didn't even tell the king. This has echoes of Megxit.
But this truly is the worst case because this is them firmly setting up their alternative royal court in the UK. They are going to force in their half in, half out. And I think looking back at this meeting with Charles and them not telling him, I think they were gauging how he would react to something like this, trying to figure out how soft he would be. And they're clearly seeing weakness and they want to pounce because they know if they wait until William is king or if they do it too late, William can basically undo all their royal titles and everything, and the royalty is the only thing that's selling for them. So they desperately need to reestablish this.
Imagine being told your son, daughter-in-law, and grandchildren are moving back to your country after 6 years, and the plan is already far enough along for school arrangements to be in place. That does not sound like a vague idea over dinner. That sounds like a decision. And there is another detail that makes the temporary visit explanation harder to swallow. Britain is expected to become their main base for an extended stretch, even while they keep property abroad. That means 2 homes, 2 continents, and a very different family rhythm from the one they built in California.
He's going to have to owe a lot of money. Their finances don't seem to be in great shape. And their persona non grata here in the United States, they just aren't that popular anymore. Harry and Meghan's stories don't move the needle. This is the biggest story we've had in years. But it goes to show you, Meghan Markle stands for nothing.
This is not Harry sleeping in a hotel for 3 nights between charity events. This is morning school runs, term dates, weekends, and ordinary life being shifted across the Atlantic. At the same time, the palace line is firm. No automatic restoration of royal duties, no announcement that Meghan is getting her old job back, and no magical return to the balcony simply because the Sussexes have a British postcode again. That creates another fascinating tension.
We have a live poll running and the result's pretty significant. Do you want them to return? 89% of you say no at this point.
Harry is moving physically closer to the monarchy while officially remaining outside it. He can be 10 miles away and still not be in. He can be back in Britain and still be a non-working royal. And for a couple whose commercial value has always risen whenever the royal connection gets louder, that may be the strangest arrangement of all. And decisions this big usually have a reason.
I believe that this was so abrupt that there was a reason why. And I think it's because Harry is deciding on what he is going to do. Meghan, I don't think, is in agreement with this. I don't think she wants to come back.
Maybe the reason really is simple. Harry wants his offspring to know Britain. He wants more time near his father. He wants them connected to their heritage. Those are completely plausible motives. But even if that is the clean explanation, it still means California lost. Because Harry had 6 years to build that life.
And we say bye-bye. And it's the headline of them. Everyone in Montecito is so happy to see them go. And these people are rich, honey. They are rich. Okay, not Meghan Markle, selling wickless candles. Bye-bye. Everybody's happy to see them go in Montecito.
6 years to make America feel permanent. 6 years to prove that leaving was the final chapter. And now he is turning around. The Montecito dream was supposed to be freedom with palm trees. Instead, Harry appears to have discovered that freedom is not the same thing as belonging. And Meghan now has to decide what version of herself walks back into Britain. The Duchess who said royal life was crushing? The lifestyle founder who planned to conquer America? The Hollywood outsider who wanted nothing to do with palace rules? Or the woman now stepping back onto British soil because her husband's life is swinging home again?
Oh, it's going to be
I just will go
mortifying.
back.
It's going to be mortifying because she's now going to try and do the UK version of Was Never, and it ain't going to work. It ain't going to work.
That image is going to be brutal. The first public appearance after the move will be watched frame by frame. Does Meghan look happy? Does Harry look relieved? Do they arrive together? Do they immediately disappear into private life? Does Meghan keep flying back to California for business while Harry stays in Britain more often? That last possibility may become the most important one.
And the Kardashians want nothing to do with her. Martha Stewart wants nothing to do with her. Oprah wants nothing to do with her. The Netflix money has run dry. That house is dilapidated, allegedly. And so now they're going crawling back. Okay, and I think Harry and Meghan, I think they're going to try to push Archie and Lilibet onto George, Charlotte, and Louis. I think they want all the cousins to be friends. I think they want the kids to come up in the next generation, just like the Kardashians.
Because reports say they intend to keep their Montecito home, at least for now. That gives Meghan a ready-made reason to continue spending time in California, as ever is her project. Her commercial network is still American. Her lifestyle image is still American. Harry, meanwhile, has obvious reasons to be in Britain, so the move could bring them closer as a family. Or it could make separate lives much easier to hide in plain sight. That is why the split speculation is not going away. And notice how fast everything is changing. A few weeks ago, the question was whether Harry would keep visiting Britain.
Gosh, what did we deserve to have such a treat of Harry and Meghan coming back to the UK? And I'm sure you can tell just how much I mean that.
Yeah.
Then it became whether Meghan would return with him. Then Archie and Lily came too. Now they are enrolling in school. Now the whole family is relocating. That is not a slow reconciliation anymore. That is acceleration. And when a story accelerates this fast, the next headline usually arrives before the audience has even processed the last one. The Montecito house will now be watched constantly. If it suddenly hits the market, people will say the California chapter is finished.
The business plan was already underway, wasn't it? We didn't know this at the time. Their plan was, of course, to monetize and sell off the royal secrets, the dirty laundry of the royal family, so to speak, plus their version of that, their truth, as they said to Oprah and many other willing audiences. But clearly that business plan has gone awry. People are sick of hearing that story. There's no money left in it. So what choice do they have? They have to become royal adjacent again.
If Meghan begins spending long stretches back in America without Harry, the marriage rumors will explode. If Harry starts appearing repeatedly around royal events, people will scream that half in, half out is quietly being rebuilt through the back door. And if none of those things happen, then Harry and Meghan will still have to explain the biggest contradiction of their post-royal story. Why go back to the place you spent years insisting you had to escape? They can call it family. They can call it heritage. They can call it a temporary extended stay. But the visuals will speak louder.
You just wait and see, because I'm telling you, Dan, something about this announcement does not feel right to me.
There is a real story, and it involves the marriage. Of that, I am completely convinced.
Suitcases going back to Britain. Young ones beginning school there. Harry returning to the world he was born into. Meghan returning to the country she once seemed determined to leave behind. And America watching the moving truck pull away like, well, that was a lot. There is one final royal problem waiting when they arrive. Harry may be rebuilding contact with his father, but returning to Britain does not automatically rebuild trust with William and Catherine.
We know money drives every decision that they make. So I see this as less a family reconciliation, because where's William in all this? He's not been mentioned.
Well, that's a question, isn't it? One of the questions was, well, what does this mean for their relationship? Because you know the brothers aren't speaking.
No.
They can stay in the background of this story, but Harry can move back to Britain far faster than he can repair those relationships. So forget the soft-focus version of this return. This is not just a family moving house. This is 6 years of Megxit colliding with reality. The security argument has flipped. Archie and Lily's future has shifted. The American experiment looks smaller. The royal connection suddenly matters more. Meghan's California identity is being dragged into a British chapter she once looked desperate to close.
They treated her horribly. She was crying. They had to flee the country. Clearly, everything was fine because now you're running back the second you need a little bit of dough, and PhD, Papa has dough. So they're going back to King Charles, and it's just like clockwork, it's textbook. Everybody can see through it. It's so transparent.
And Harry may be building a permanent base in the one place where he will always have more history, more status, and more leverage than he ever had in Hollywood. Maybe this move saves the marriage. Maybe it creates a new phase of their life together. Or maybe, as some commentators suspect, this is the first giant logistical step toward Harry having a life in Britain, whether Meghan wants the same future or not. Either way, one thing is over. The idea that Harry and Meghan left Britain for good is dead. They are coming back.
But the last thing I'll say, not to hog the floor, I don't think anyone in the UK should trust them again.
And after 6 years of telling the world why they had to leave, the most explosive question is no longer why they ran. It is why they suddenly need to return. If you enjoyed this video and want even more royal family content, don't forget to check out my Patreon. I'm uploading exclusive investigations, bonus content, and members-only videos that won't be released on YouTube. I'll be adding new content regularly. If you'd like to support the channel and get access to everything, the link is in the description. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.